Hello, I'm Malcolm Haslett.
And I'm Janice Baker, a business innovator and a pirate.
A pirate!
Are
Oh,
our
timbers.
special guests in this episode of
Oh,
Our
I
Time.
can't wait for the pirate. I'm talking almost with my normal voice.
You are actually, no, it's noticeably better.
The ridiculousness of it is I can actually sing again.
He thinks he can.
But the speaking voice hasn't completely come back. But the other voice has. I think I might take up all those...
No.
Two faces have I...
No, sorry, no.
Introduce the guest.
Our special guest today is Natasha Malani. Welcome. I'm sorry about my friend.
Thank you. I thought it was lovely.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome to the program,
Natasha.
Natasha.
Hearing aids in your next business life. Natasha, your surname sounds Indian to me.
It is indeed. Yes.
How come?
Well, my father was from India. He migrated to Australia in 1964 and he fell in love with my mother. They met in Melbourne. They lived in the same apartment building and he never went back to India. So
and then you came along.
And then I came along, and I'm not married, so I've still got the family Indian surname.
Oh, I never even thought of that. Of course.
Yes.
Well, you could have just kept.
I could have kept. Yes.
Brothers and sisters?
I've got a younger brother. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So you head up this organisation, and you're the local CEO. Just explain the organisation, because I didn't even know this existed, which is why you're here.
Yes, well, thank you. Thanks for having me. South Australian Leaders, we're a leadership program that supports and fast-tracks the growth of small, medium businesses in South Australia. So business owners, founders, CEOs, anyone that makes a decision in business. Business can be lonely at the top, making all those decisions. So we put a support structure around them to help them grow their business or whatever success looks like for them. Some of them might be looking to exit, for example.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that I guess I'm going through in my business, having an exit strategy.
Absolutely.
What do you do?
Yes. Well, there's one thing that's certain, we all exit at some point.
Oh,
so
I'm
it's
going to live forever. Because, you know, there's this new gene therapy that reverses the ageing process.
Well, I can see you've tried it already.
Oh, you'll be coming back.
But,
well.
Sorry, we deviate from the point there. But is this an international organisation?
Yeah, so actually the organisation was founded in Queensland in 2006. So Queensland Leaders was launched and we launched South Australian Leaders in 2016. And then there's New South Wales, Victoria, WA, New Zealand and also the UK.
Right.
So the companies that come into our network can leverage off the wider International Leaders Network.
Right.
Because you do business on relationship and trust. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's how,
yes.
you know, we...
And fortunately it has remained that, hasn't it?
Oh,
even though with the speed
absolutely.
of the internet and all the other things,
Yep.
it's still more about who you know.
Person to person.
Yeah, we use the term B2B, which is business to business, or B2C, business to consumer, a lot. I now use the term H to H, human to human. You've got to look someone in the eye, and that's how you do, business. You do it on relationship and
let's
trust.
hope we don't lose that.
Yes.
How did you become involved in this, Natasha?
So we as I said, the Queensland Leaders was established in 2006 and some colleagues and we got the rights for South Australia and launched it in 2016. So it was a greenfields launch. We launched with at a fresh start and we've now got 100 companies in our network. So it's been a fast growth journey. And the thing about what we do is we create the environment to help companies grow their business. So we don't do it for them. They grow their own business and everyone comes in with a different challenge or a different opportunity to assess. But when you do it together, you do it better.
But you're right, it is lonely at the top. For CEOs of companies, who do you turn to?
That's right.
Unless you're the Murdoch family or something like that you can go and ask Daddy,
yeah.
What do I do with this problem? It is difficult.
So the uniqueness about what we do is we actually bring in experts to help decision makers in business. So legal experts, tax, brand, sales, marketing, risk. So they've got access to people that have got the best advice when they're making decisions. In addition to that, then they've got their peers who've also gone through maybe some of the similar challenges that they're facing. Businesses, struggle sometimes with cash flow, managing people, finding and retaining skilled talent and labour, and all those things that we deal with every day. How do we, get new customers and retain customers? It might be that you learn something from the expert, but you've also got someone that may have also been through a similar challenge as you have. So, we put that...
And again, you don't connect with those people if you're just running your business.
Correct,
because
absolutely.
it takes up your whole time.
Yeah.
Now, being an Adelaide City Councillor for how many,
8 years,
8
yes.
years. Why on earth did you move into that field?
So I
Because
was
it's an election situation.
That's right. I was elected in 2010 and re-elected in 2014. So I did it twice. And it gets harder the second time.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
So 2010, I was relatively young at the time, and it was a time when...
What do you mean at the time? You still are.
Oh, thank you. Now you're giving the compliments back to me. It was a time when we were considering Adelaide Oval and the redevelopment of Adelaide Oval. And I thought the state government at the time had been re-elected, and it was then going to be up to the council to be the enabler for the next step of that process. So I wanted to be inside the tent rather than on the outside.
Looking in.
So with the help of some colleagues, a wonderful man called Mike Mulvihill, who's passed away sadly now, he was an elected member for Prospect. And there were Francis Wong was an elected member for the City of Adelaide. And so I got some mentoring from them and put my sort of name in the ring and ran an election campaign, quite a simple one.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of local government. It's quite grassroots and anyone can have a go.
Yeah.
And then 2014 got re-elected, and in 14 and 2015, so at the end of my first term, start of my second term, I was Deputy Lord Mayor.
But I was about to say, you weren't just a council member.
That's right, yes, Deputy Lord Mayor.
How did you cope with council meetings? Because they are unique in themselves, aren't they?
Yes, well, it's interesting. They can be frustrating. Decision-making in that environment can be frustrating. You've got 12 different people, 12 different opinions. It's not party-aligned politics. Yeah. But you're dealing with issues that, really affect the local community. So,
absolutely.
You're making a difference. So
Did you find, though, too, as a young woman, that people were listening to you?
Well, I'm a strong young woman, so I wasn't backwards in coming forward. So yes, I had to, put my case forward, and I just found it so rewarding. So I think the people you meet, the decisions we are making, and it wasn't just decisions that are made inside the chamber. A lot of them, are made. There's the processes that sit behind. Yeah. So it was about manoeuvring through that, and I think we did some great things. I mean, the thing that I left, the legacy I left, and walking away from being most proud of, was that we acquired 88 O'Connell Street.
Okay, so for those people living in other places,
yes,
it was a building called the LaCorneau site. It used to have these wonderful curved windows out the front, so you could see through them. There's no reflection. I don't know who invented that, but it was very good. And it sat vacant for how many years?
29, about 20.
Yeah, right in the middle of one of the most cosmopolitan parts of Adelaide.
Correct, yes.
And everyone's had a go at it, but nobody's been successful. So what's happened there?
So Mr. Macris, or the Macris Group, were the former owners of the site, and council acquired that site from the Macris Group in December of, must have been 17. So
a couple of years.
Yeah, December 17, early 18. And now there's an expression of interest, and so the market is now going to decide what's going to be on that site in conjunction with the community. So it's very exciting. I think, taking up on your point, and most cities deal with these sort of conundrums where it's set a culture in our city, and we had to break through that culture that nothing was happening on that site. We needed to change the story. Yeah. And that's what I think was most exciting about that.
And also you deal a lot with Indian companies, the connection between here and there.
Yeah, so you've got the Indian heritage. My father came to Australia in 1964, which is interesting in itself because he came as a student to study at RMIT in Victoria. So it means that we were actually bringing in international students back then to study in Australia, and that's a big business now in Australia, international education.
Absolutely.
So my passion was there. It was inherent that I was, always interested in India and went back there a number of times. And then my focus wanted to bring out a Bollywood film to shoot in South Australia.
And that was amazingly successful, wasn't it?
So we did that in 2006. Love Story 2050. It was a bit of fun. I mean, it was with Priyanka Chopra, who now is a Hollywood actress, not just a Bollywood actress.
Yeah.
And she's very famous, and we spent 5 weeks with her filming in South Australia. And what it really did actually was showcased beautifully South Australia to India.
It did.
And from there I went and worked with businesses on market entry strategies and looking at the India market.
So what do you want to do when you grow up?
Well, as you can see, I love business. I'm very passionate about South Australia and the businesses we support here.
Is it business or is it the people that you're dealing with?
It's the people, absolutely, yeah.
It's always about the people, isn't it?
And India, and anyone who's watching and who's got an interest, whether it's from leisure and tourism right through to business. I mean, I think India is something that everyone should have on their radar, whether it be a place where you're looking at manufacturing, a place where you might sell your product, or even to visit.
How many people live there?
Well, 1.3 billion, give or take.
I know, yes, hello. Look, how do people who may be like a CEO of a company and desperate for a bit of assistance, how will they find you?
So saleaders.com.au through the website, yes, we're more than happy to talk to anyone who's running a business or owns a business who just wants that support structure around them.
You would be fantastic to support. You've just got this aura of
very confident.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thanks,
being
Natasha.
part of our program. But just hang around till the end, if you will.
Absolutely.
Because we have a pirate coming up. A pirate, Janice. A real pirate.
Great.
A pirate on a ship with a thing and a. Next,
Has he got one eye?
Coming up soon. Where's the pirate, Janice? Where's the pirate?
Malcolm. It's Michael Mills. Now, Michael
a pirate.
is an entertainer and
a
a
pirate.
performer
Well,
on ships as pirate. But he's a writer and director and a performer at the SA Maritime Museum.
As well.
As well.
He's one of those people.
One of those-
Hello, Michael.
one of
We're
those
talking about
people.
you.
What does that even mean?
Multi-talented.
Yes, that's what it means.
Multifaceted, like a diamond.
Like in the rough. Yes.
No, because you wouldn't have the facets if you were in the rough.
Good.
I know. Michael, I've known Michael for a while, and we've talked on and off, usually at the theatre, about the different things that he's involved with, and it's always something different. And the other day we were talking about the fact that he's become a sort of a pirate on a ship, but that's not how it started, is it?
No.
How did it start?
Oh, like from the very, very
You were a
beginning?
child.
I was a child.
You were born without hair on your face.
I was born without hair on my face. I was a child in England watching The Jungle Book and Mary Poppins, and I thought, ooh,
Like
there's something about that. I like that. And got distracted for a few years, did a Bachelor of Business, and then I just thought, this is really silly. I like writing songs, and the songs that I write happen
and that's
to suit
perfectly
kids.
normal, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
The songs I was writing happened to suit kids, and I just thought, well, I might just leave. I was in the public sector. I thought, I'm just going to leave. Walked into a radio station, Triple M at the time, became 3D Radio, and said, can I do a radio show for kids?
That's here in Adelaide.
Yeah.
So you'd come to Adelaide in the meantime.
Yeah. And, so I came to Australia when I was 7 on a ship.
Just a small thing, yes.
Minor detail. And unbeknownst, and surprisingly enough, when I said, can I do a radio show for kids?
They said yes, of course.
Yeah, right then. And I'm like,
Oh.
right, well, how do I do that then? So
You wouldn't notice that he was a kids entertainer from that last move, would you?
that was fully choreographed. I've been working on that for the last week. And so I learned very quickly about creating half an hour of content every week, as you guys would know, or more. And so I was writing songs on a particular theme and started making connections with education people at the Botanic Gardens, at the museum, at the Maritime Museum. And then when the radio show had finished, I think the zoo it was said to me one day, "Oh, could you do some school holiday shows for us?" Naturally, I've said, "Of course I can."
Worry about it.
And I've walked into the zoo and I've gone, "How would you do that?" and I think it's one of those things where both with the radio show and with doing the school holiday stuff at the zoo to begin with, I had no idea what the rules were or what they weren't. So I've just gone, well, I'm going to do it like this.
Yeah.
And it's become its own thing, where I've developed this extraordinary love and passion for doing shows and performances in cultural institutions, in helping to tell the stories of the artefacts within those collections, whether it's the collections at the Maritime Museum. I mean, at the Maritime Museum, for example, in the Shipwrecked section, there's a plate. And that plate comes from a shipwreck, and it has stories. There's a person who ate their last meal on that plate.
Yeah.
For me, it's fascinating, that story.
Yes.
The story of the making of the plate, the story of how the plate got from where it was in the shipwreck onto it. So there's all of these multiple layers of stories.
So people know what this looks like. Let's have a look at you in full sail, although you're not there.
Well, no, I'm not there. And this has been one of the really cool things I've done in the last few years, where I've written shows and I've had other people from them, particularly from Adelaide Youth Theatre. So this is a show called Shipwrecked. These two performers, the gentleman performer is playing a role that I'd played quite a lot. And again, that was fascinating. Captain Horatio Bumblefingers, bit of a nincompoop.
Good
But the
name.
fascinating thing for me was writing a show and having the freedom to say, right, I'm busy doing something else now, and walking off. This image was from...
there.
I'm definitely there.
You're being a pirate there.
I'm being a pirate. Well, sort of. Pirates are funny things. I'm not fond of pirates, so the shows that I write that have pirates in them tend to kind of take a bit of mock them a great deal. And we end up thinking, well, this pirating thing is a silly idea. But that last image you showed was on the One and All.
Yes.
And again, that came about because I thought, well, since I do shows at the Maritime Museum...
But nobody knew that you were there. So
on that particular thing, no. So we boarded as normal passengers.
Yes.
And then we took... I mean,
Good idea.
the captain knew.
But not anyone else.
And it came about because I decided from doing shows at the Maritime Museum, I really should go on a sailing ship to see what it's like.
Yes.
I'd booked myself on a
As
proper
you
tour.
haven't been, yes.
And then they said, bring a musical instrument. I sang a few tunes at the captain's dinner, and we've just gone, wait a minute, you do that? And we should do a thing. And so me and the two girls had done the show, The Big Book of Pirates at the Maritime Museum in January. We sort of got together and said, do you want to do a thing? Let's just try. Let's just see what it's like working in the space. What's it like dancing on a ship?
Yeah, that's
kind of
moving.
going from side to side. What's it like with an audience that have
Good for
no
ice
idea?
skating.
Yes. Not.
No, that's the thing.
Oh.
Having an ice floor on the ships are a bit bigger though. But they do tend to drift to one side.
Yes, I would think so.
Now, talk to us about the other characters you play, because there's lots.
There's a few,
The one I
yes.
first met you playing was
Professor
with
Flint.
Professor Flint, with dinosaurs down under.
Yeah, Scottish paleontologist, Professor Flint. And he became Scottish because the final dress rehearsal, he was an Australian, and then I went home and I'm thinking, it's not quite working. And I walked past a
So
Scottish...
what does he sound like?
Hello, my name is Professor Flint, and he talks about, like, you know... And instead... Anyway, so I walked past this puppet that I'd used in the radio show. Another story. And it's a Scottish puppet, and I've got this song called Rocks and Bones, and I've gone, Rocks and Bones, wait a minute, Rocks and Bones, and I just started laughing. And I thought, right, that's it. So Professor Flint became Scottish. So that even though he tells the story of Australian dinosaurs, but not just Australian dinosaurs, prehistoric Australians from megafauna and
yes,
stuff.
well, that's the interesting thing. While we talk about dinosaurs, what were the creatures that were here? Did we have on this?
South Australia is an extraordinary place in terms of the prehistoric story that we have, and part of the narrative that I've embarked on over the last few years, and we did a thing at the South Australian Museum in the April School holidays called Fossil Fest, where we kind of explored that even further, is what's the prehistoric story of the place where we live?
Yeah.
You know, T-Rex is great, don't get me wrong, amazing dinosaur, but what's the story of where we live?
Well, I think we've got a picture of one of these, haven't we?
Well, now
Not that one.
that's Professor Flint with a T-Rex.
Yes.
That's at Townsville. That's Professor Flint in the mouth of a mosasaur, which is a great big marine Cretaceous reptile. That's Professor Flint in Narrow Caves with Thylacoleo, which is kind of a giant scissor-toothed possum. So imagine a possum the size of a leopard with scissors for teeth. You might call it a drop bear. That's the same creature there.
Yes, and that's
Both the creature that's Professor Flint and the
yes.
Thylacoleo. And if you
We
have a
sort
look
of
at
understood
Those
that bit,
teeth.
yes.
God.
the teeth are fascinating because we've got one there, one
Huge.
there, and they kind of slice together like that.
Whoa.
It's a drop bear.
Oh,
So people made up this thing of drop bears, and
drop
science has
bears,
gone,
yes.
actually, excuse me, we found it.
There actually were, yes.
Yeah.
And how did your interest in those develop? Because that's a bit left of centre.
I was doing, through the radio show, I accidentally happened to be in a place at the time where I got to interview David Bellamy, the British naturalist who talks like this.
Yes.
And I rang his publicist. They said, sorry, you've missed the radio interview, you've missed the interview. Can you come out to St Kilda Mangroves? So I've gone out to St Kilda Mangroves, and two of the networks kind of took all the time, and they said, well, do you mind walking around with us to do and I had one of those old super scopes, the old, and so I got to walk with him and a couple of other people for about an hour and a half through the St Kilda Mangroves. David Bellamy we started talking about books, and he said, read The Future Eaters by Tim Flannery, who later became the director of the South Australian Museum, but The Future Eaters is all about Australian megafauna. So it's about the thylacoleos, it's about giant wombats, it's about giant kangaroos. And I'd never learnt any of that as a kid.
I don't think our kids know about
would
that
not
either.
know.
Well, but that's changing.
They do now because
And that's
you've been
changing.
talking about it.
Yeah, but there's more people talking about it.
Yes.
You can buy now little fluffy diprotodon toys from some places,
Yes.
and I love the fact that you can do that.
Now, Michael, you do so many odd things and you're obviously enthusiastic about all of them. What did you do at the weekend?
What did I do at the weekend? I dressed up as a giant magpie, had some coffee,
she
As
did.
you do.
Mungo
That
the
would have been
Magpie.
difficult.
So Mungo the Magpie is a character we've played with for a couple of years, but started doing some stuff at Cleland because we wanted like a kind of not a mascot, but a character that helps tell
Cleland
the stories.
most people would know it because of the koalas that are there.
Yeah. So what Mungo did on the weekend was did a couple of tunes. Mungo doesn't sing, but we created this situation where there was Radio Cleland and and so Mungo was singing and dancing, and then Mungo took the audience around Cleland looking for magpies, and
God,
kids were given.
Amazing man.
Given-
Listen, just sit there for a minute, just relax. We've got to take a short break and we'll be back in a moment. Welcome back.
Yes, we're back with Michael and Natasha.
Natasha, so what message would you have for people who are looking to change their businesses around or join up with other businesses?
Yeah, I think when we've been talking about leadership today, and I think leadership in a general sense is about being authentic. People expect that authenticity. So I think, vulnerability, authenticity, that's what leads to greatness.
We're all human.
Yes.
Michael, what are your plans for the future?
July school holidays coming up, so we're doing a sequel to the Bigger Book of Pirates, or to the Big Book of Pirates, called the Bigger Book of Pirates. But I'd encourage everyone, wherever you are, to check out your cultural institutions, your museums, your botanic gardens, because they always have fabulous and amazing activities to do.
Yeah,
Well said.
there's some good advice if you're looking for something for the future for your kids, or if you're in business and you're looking to expand.
Or need some help and advice.
Yeah, or even succeed, not succeed.
Succession?
What's the word?
Succession, or have an exit plan.
Yeah,
there you
exit
go.
plan.
That one, yeah.
My exit plan will just be out the door over there in a minute because it's time for us to say...
Goodbye. Next time we'll see you
I
on our
thought you were gonna do a Julie
Well, I
Andrews
was
or
going to,
something.
but I just didn't think
Oh.
it was appropriate.
Everything's appropriate on this program, including me saying, keep yourself nice till next time we meet.